So just a heads up if you do Zoom say their thing. If you do want to kind of change your name or anything like that, this will be going up on our YouTube channel. So just a heads up there. So the Diabetes Hope Scholarship program, this is for the 2025 cycle. It's a $3,000 scholarship that we give out to students who are preparing for post-secondary school. So you need to be in grade 12 or in the CEGEP program in Quebec. If you are in your gap year, you can still apply. You just need to reach out to myself, so Heather at diabeteshopefoundation.com, or you can email info@diabeteshopefoundation.com just to get an exception made for you. Just a little bit about Diabetes Hope Foundation. So we were established in 1999. It was founded by Barbara Pasternak, who you can kind of see here on the left with her family. She had 3 boys. 2 of them were diagnosed with type 1 diabetes within about 3 years of each other. And as she followed them through the pediatric healthcare system, she noticed there was a bit of a gap in services for youth as they were preparing for adult care and post-secondary school. So she established our Swing of Hope golf tournament, which is going into its 28th year this summer, to raise funds to start the scholarship program, which launched in 1999. And we've given out 943 scholarships to date. We also have peer support programming to help you through that transition to post-secondary school, which Abby and I will talk about a little bit later. And you can read our story online if you want to learn more. So just a quick overview of the program. It was created to recognize and celebrate everything that goes into being a phenomenal student, a leader in the community, while also managing type 1 diabetes. The scholarship program looks at both merits, so your grades, your achievements, any awards you've had, the work that you're doing in the community, but also need, whether it's financial or social need. And all of that's taken into consideration through the questions that you're answering in the portal. And is taken into account in the scoring metrics. Make sure you check your eligibility before you apply. So you need to be, like I said, in your final year at a Canadian secondary school or a CEGEP program. You need to be registered with a Canadian pediatric diabetes program or receiving care for diabetes. You need to have been receiving care for type 1 diabetes a minimum of 1 year at the application deadline, which is March 3rd. If you haven't been type 1 or haven't been diagnosed as type 1 for a full year, again, you can reach out to myself and I would take your case to the Scholarship Advisory Committee. And we do make exceptions if you can explain why, just kind of share your story with us, and there are exceptions that can be made. You also need to have a valid SIN number, so you need to be a Canadian resident or a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident. And that's just so that we can process your scholarship disbursement, send you out your tax forms, and everything's on the up and up on our end. All applications need to be submitted by March 3rd at 11:59 Pacific time. We do not make exceptions, so that's the deadline. That's when you need to get it done. All your references need to be submitted by that time. If they aren't, then we can't look at those references when we're scoring your application. So it's really important that you follow up with them and just make sure that they've filled out the form that you sent to them. If you have any questions, like I said, you can reach out to myself. And if you have any technical issues, you can reach out to myself or Vivian, who kind of runs the magic in the back end of the scholarship. And our email addresses are just there. Did anyone have any questions at this point about eligibility or the scholarship program in general? And Abby, I'll let you let me know if there's anything in the chat.
We're looking pretty good right now.
All right, beautiful. All right, so what makes a strong application? First of all, coming here is a good first step. From the people who came to last year's scholarship information session, 75% of them ended up receiving the application. So good on you for being here to get all these tips. The most important thing is to let the Scholarship Advisory Committee get to know you. So they're looking to hear your story, how you've managed your type 1 diabetes, the resilience that you've shown, and what you've done in your community and in your schools that makes you an outstanding student. Make sure you're thoughtful with both your short answer questions and your essay questions. I always say look at the word count, and you don't have to get the word count, but if it's asking for 500 words, don't submit something that's maybe 2 sentences long, because that's where the bulk of your score comes from, is the short answer and the essay questions. Please do not use ChatGPT or AI to help you write your essays. We know that often people use it to look for grammar and things like that. But we will notice if there's ChatGPT and we'll run it through the whatever they're called, the applications that scan for it, and you will be disqualified from the application. We can also spot a mom written essay pretty easily. It's going to surprise you, but moms write a lot differently than their kids. So please make sure that you're writing the application yourself. And also just really, we're looking for you to clearly demonstrate that you're ready for the transition to post-secondary school. You thought about how diabetes is going to impact that, and you started taking the steps necessary to prepare for it. So anything you wanted to add, Abby, about your own application that you made sure you included?
The only thing I think is a key element is don't leave this to the last minute. I think that the scholarship committee, they will be able to tell if you wrote this on March 1st or 2nd, a couple days before. So, start working on it now. You still got, looks like 3.5 weeks before it's due. So start working on those short answer and the essay questions so that, a couple days before you can go back, reread, make any edits, and then it's kind of off your plate by then.
Awesome. Excellent advice. Um, were there any questions about how to write a strong application at all? Very good.
There's nothing in the chat.
Okay. That means that I'm doing my job. I'm answering everything before it comes up. All right, so how applications are scored. This is kind of the secret sauce that you probably came for. So once you submit your application, DHF staff, so myself and Vivian, go through to make sure that A, you meet the eligibility requirements, B, all the questions have been answered properly, and that the application is complete. We're also looking to make sure that there's no duplication of answers, for example, in your achievements, that you're not listing the same achievement 3 times, and we do autocorrect or we do self-correct if we're noticing that. We then remove all names and identifying information from the application. So when it goes to a scholarship advisory committee, it's blinded, which means they don't know who's writing the application. Our scholarship advisory committee, you can go see their beautiful faces on our website, but everyone has some kind of connection to type 1 diabetes, so they understand what it's like to live with it and the challenges that come with that, and also how that can kind of make you a stronger, more resilient person, and includes DHF board members, clinicians from the community, representatives from the pharmaceutical industry, former scholarship recipients. This year is our first year with over 50% of our committee made up of scholarship recipients. And then we also have volunteers in the diabetes community and a couple of members from family foundations who donate to the scholarship program. If there is a conflict, so if, for example, your doctor is Dr. Simone, who's the head of our scholarship committee, then on the back end, Vivian flags that and makes sure that he's not reading your application because he'll probably be able to pick it out and know that it's you. So just to make sure there's no bias based on relationships, we make sure that we do that screening ahead of time. SAC members score their assigned applications. So we have 3 scholarship committee members who score each application. We have a standardized rubric that they use. They all score their application, and then those scores are submitted and averaged, and then scholarships awarded to the applicants with the highest average score. We let everybody know by mid-April. So we have a big assess our scholarship advisory committee meeting beginning of April to go over the applications, just make sure everyone's on board with the scores that were given. And then we let everybody know by mid to late April if you've received the scholarship. Any questions about how the applications are scored? I think the total score is 65 this year. And I'll go through each of the different sections in a minute. Are we good, Abby?
Yeah, the chat's looking good.
All right. All right, so the application breakdown. Academics, this is pretty straightforward. You just put in your current grade 12 average. So if you have 87, you put it, or if you have an 87% average, you put in 87. It's auto scored out of 10. So if you have an 87, you get 8.7 out of 10 for that. I know that you haven't finished grade 12, so you just put in the grade 12 marks that you have to date. Please make sure you contact your school as soon as possible to get your transcript. It does need to be a PDF. I know we've had questions if a photo turned into a PDF will count. It does, as long as it's legible. If we can't read it, then I'd reach out to you and get you to resubmit it. Um, we do ask for your school and program choices. Those are not assigned any score. Those are just so that if you get the scholarship, fingers crossed for all of you, we use it in our matching process because some of our donors want their scholarship to go towards someone who's in the sciences or in the arts or someone who has financial needs. So that's the only way that we're using that information. For your achievements, you can enter up to 5 unique achievements. They can be academic, sports awards, awards in the arts, leadership community awards, scholarships that you've applied for that have either helped with your high school education if you're private school or ones that you've already received for your post-secondary. They do need to be things that you've accomplished during secondary school. So if you won the grade 5 spelling bee, that is awesome. We are very proud of you, but please do not put that on your application. And like I said before, if you do, we do screen them and that'll be removed. If you're not sure if something qualifies, you can always send me a quick email and I will let you know. And so that's kind of the achievements. I saw there's a couple questions popping up in the chat, Abby, or comments maybe.
Yeah, someone just asked the question that if they scanned their transcript, is that okay? So I just said that as long as you're scanning it in as a PDF and saving it as a PDF and it's readable, you're good to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think the application will even accept it if it's not a PDF.
We do have
So
one more.
scan is
Does a
fine.
detailed academic report work as a transcript?
So I would ask you to send me an email with a little bit more information about that so that I can get a better sense because I'm going to say probably yes, but I just want to make sure before committing to that. So if that is what you have, if your school doesn't have transcripts, let me know. I know I had someone reach out earlier this week saying that their secondary school started in grade 10, so they don't have a transcript from grade 9 to grade 12. That's fine. Again, just reach out to let me know so that if the scholarship advisory committee has any questions and they flag it for any reason, I can let them know that you've communicated with me and I understand that.
We have a couple more.
Sure.
Um, would school club membership count as an achievement?
Yeah, absolutely. Just make sure that there's like a comment section. Explain what it is that you did as part of that club. So if you were in the French club and you signed up on the first day and then didn't go to any of the meetings throughout the year, please don't lie about that because it's just bad karma and it'll probably come through. But if you can talk about what you did at that club, then that absolutely counts. Yeah.
And then for the achievement,
Actually, no, sorry, I'm wrong. That would count under the next section, which is accomplishments, is where would you put your club membership and things that you've done for the community. Sorry if that was confusing.
that's okay. Under the same type of umbrella, for the achievements, are scholarships only usable if you have won them?
Yes. If you have just applied for them, then that's not quite an achievement yet.
And then last one, could I use my last report card? I believe we're talking about back to the transcript. So would this person be able to use their latest report card?
So not a report card because we need to see your high school transcript. So it's not just your most recent grades. You don't have to submit anything for your average because that will be backed up by your transcript. So you do need to talk to your school or your school board to get your transcript for all of post-secondary school. If for any reason, if you're new to Canada and you weren't here for grade 9, 10, 11, and you just arrived in grade 12, but you do have your permanent residency, again, reach out to me and then I would take it to the scholarship advisory committee to see if an exception can be made.
And then last one for right now. For grade 12 averages, do you use your top six U/M courses or all grade 12 courses?
All grade 12, please. And if you've got more than 6 at this point, then good on you. That's pretty amazing.
Looks like that is it for now. If anyone else has any questions, just put them in the chat. I will do my best to answer, and then if not, Heather and I will answer them together for everyone.
Awesome. Thanks, Abby. Okay, so leadership and community impact. This is where you would put in school clubs that you're a part of. Again, you can enter up to 5 unique examples. So if you've been the leader of your French club from grade 9 through grade 12, that would count as one leadership or community impact. Entries can include both activities with a formal organization or school, or it can also be self-directed activities. So if you started I don't know if you started an organization. I don't know if it'll be a formal organization, but if you started something to help with snow clearing of seniors in your community, then that would be something that you can put down. And I would ask you to move to my neighborhood because we have so very much snow right now where I am. Um, Personal needs. So this is part of where we're looking at the needs of the applications. So there's 5 categories that you can select from. You check off all that apply. And then we ask that you use the comment box below to explain why you chose each of those categories. There is also an other, so if there's something there that isn't covered by the 5 that we listed, then you have an opportunity to put what that other one is. Um, we're assuming that because you're applying for a scholarship, you have financial need. So that's kind of a standard. So if the reason that you're selecting financial need is because you need a scholarship, then we're asking for more than that. So if you're from a sole support family, if you have multiple, I don't know, extra costs associated with things, if you're new to Canada, if you're low income, those are the types of things that would qualify for financial need. Again, if you're not sure, send me an email. I'm usually pretty good at getting back to people within 24 to 48 hours. And if you don't hear from me, I do not take offense if you nudge me. Abby knows that very well. She's had to nudge me many times when I haven't been on top of my email as much as I should have been. Any questions about these 2 sections in the application?
We have one so far. How will we be contacted if you need verification?
You will get an email from either myself or from Vivian. So please make sure that you're checking your email. Occasionally, DHF emails get sent to spam, so I would suggest sort of between now and the application closing and then through until April, maybe make a habit of once a week checking in your spam if you haven't heard from us, just to make sure it's not ending up there. Um, Especially if, so once March 3rd hits, if there's anything that we have questions about from your application, we'll reach out to you and we'll give you a deadline. So usually it's until that Friday if there's something missing. If we don't hear from you, then your application gets closed. So just especially that week, make sure you're checking your spam just to make sure that things haven't gone in there. We good?
Yeah, it looks like that is it for now.
Okay. Okay, so this is the short answer section, transition preparedness, and there's also a question about Diabetes Hope Foundation. So there's 3 questions here. Each are worth 5 points. The one thing that I say to my son and to everybody who is applying for med school and is asking for help with their applications, I say, please read the question carefully and answer it fully. So don't just read the first part and answer that first part because sometimes the questions have nuance in it. So just make sure in order to get as many points as you can, you're answering the question as fully as possible. Um, there's a question about your readiness for transitioning to post-secondary school. Take a minute and think about all the possible resources that you can access, and think about what your plan is in case something does happen and to prepare for that. So we are looking for not just that you know who to ask, but what you're going to do and how you're actively sort of working towards becoming ready for post-secondary school. We're looking for you to demonstrate you have the skills needed to successfully manage your type 1 diabetes while at school. If you can provide concrete examples, that helps with your score and it helps the Scholarship Advisory Committee get to know you. Make sure you explore the DHF website, not only because there are phenomenal resources on there that Abby has been integral in creating some of them, but it's also essential for one of these questions about the Diabetes Hope Foundation. Don't just list the resources that we have. We really want to see that you've thought about how they can be helpful. If you've already started using them, bonus, let us know. It's really about how much thought you're putting into it the Scholarship Advisory Committee is looking for. Again, make sure you read the question carefully. And there's a question, no, that's in the essay. I'm getting ahead of myself, sorry. Any questions about the short answer section of the application?
And if you have questions, please don't be shy. This is the time to ask. One thing that I do want that Heather mentioned that I just think is really important is use examples when you can, for both short for both like the short answer and the essay. Just stating a point is great, but the committee, the scholarship application committee, they're looking for those examples. So wherever possible, put those examples in.
Yeah. And get someone to read over your application. We don't want them writing it for you, but they can read over it to make sure that it makes sense. They might notice some grammar mistakes that you missed. I know my mom was always good at catching the commas that I had forgotten to put into something. So if you can get someone to read it over, friend, family, whoever, it always just helps to make sure that it's a strong application.
And the chat's looking good right now.
Awesome. Thanks, Abby. All right, so we have two essay questions this year. They're both worth 10 points. Again, make sure you read the questions and answer them thoughtfully. We're looking for you to share your personal story with us. So you cannot use ChatGPT because as wonderful as AI is, they do not know you. The section is really where you're letting the committee get to know you. So the last section was letting them know how you're planning and preparing for post-secondary school. This is where you can share your story with the committee. So make sure that in the first question, you're talking about what you've accomplished beyond managing your type 1 diabetes. So choose an example, choose a couple examples of something that you've been able to do despite your diabetes. And the second question is really looking to learn about your resilience and how you overcome challenges. So make it personal. Share details if you can. Like Abby said, concrete examples go a long way. And again, this is really a chance for you to share your story. And this is the essay questions are where the largest chunk of your marks come from. For references, you can choose up to 4 references. You don't have to have 4. That's just the limit that we put on it. Make sure you're thinking carefully about who your references are going to be. Make sure they can speak to both your diabetes management and your personal strengths and what makes you a phenomenal person. You cannot ask your parent or primary caregiver, so if it's your grandma or an aunt or something like that, to be your reference. And we only allow one personal reference. So if you have a friend who knows you or a neighbor who knows you, please feel free to ask them because they do know you on a different level than your teachers or your supervisor at work. But there's only one that will be allowed. References have to be submitted by the application deadline in order to be counted towards your score. Make sure you give your references time to fill it out. Follow up with them if they haven't filled it out. And if they have any questions or concerns, again, they can email myself or Vivian because I know sometimes SurveyMonkey can be a little bit glitchy. So they can always reach out to us. Make sure again that it's well ahead of the deadline, just in case there are technical issues. What happens with your references? So if you haven't got to that point of your application yet, you put in their name and their email address, and then SurveyMonkey sends them the reference form that has all the questions that are on the fillable Word doc. They fill out those questions, they hit submit, and then they're done. You can go on, or they can go on with their day, and you know that your application, that part of it, is ready to go. I see the chat, so I'm
We
assuming
have a
there's
couple
questions.
questions.
Yeah.
Um, where are we? Does the resilient story have to be diabetes related?
So the resilience story is the second essay question, and this is sort of just a paraphrasing of it, but it's something along the lines of if you met someone younger than you who's recently diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, what story would you tell them to help them sort of give them hope and make them feel like it's going to be okay? So that question does have to be diabetes related because you're talking to someone who has type 1 in the hypothetical question.
The next couple are reference related. Are
Mhm.
references awarded 1 point per, or are they worth more if they are better?
So they're awarded 1 point per. They're also where the scholarship committee can go to sort of verify what's they're seeing in your applications. So if you were on the French club, and I'm just going to stick with that because it's the end of the day and I'm not feeling very creative, then your reference might be able to talk to a little bit more about what you did in the French club because there's only so much you can put in that area. So it's really important that you have references who are good. Again, we scan the references. So if they're giving answers that don't really connect with what you're showing in your application, then we would reach out to them just to make sure that they do know you. So please don't put in your dog as one of the personal references and think it's okay if they just put in a bunch of Zs and Ts and stuff like that, because we do scan them. And it's really good to have good references because that's going to enhance your application for the scholarship committee when they're reading it.
And can a reference be my diabetes team nurse or doctor?
Absolutely. I highly recommend you ask someone from your diabetes team or multiple people from your diabetes team, if you have a good relationship with them and they know you, to be your references. They're usually very, very happy to do it, but they also usually need a bit of nudging because they have so much going on. So if I was doing my application, I would ask my social worker, my dietitian, my endo, maybe my eye doctor. I don't know. Anybody who knows you can speak to your resilient or to your diabetes management, but also what else you're doing beyond just those appointments is really important.
And then someone asked, is my employer okay? I responded, yes, absolutely. I remember from when I was doing my application, one of my references was my employer. So if you have a very similar to the diabetes team, if you have a really great rapport with your employer, and you think that they would give you a strong reference, absolutely ask them. Again, same going along the same lines as the diabetes team, your employer may be quite busy. So make sure that you're asking them sooner rather than later, so you're giving them as much time to fill out that as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Teachers are great, coaches are great. Anybody that supervised you during your volunteer work in the community is phenomenal to ask as well. Yeah. And then they'll be asked to identify what kind of reference they are. So I think there's personal, medical, and community as the options. Again, we verify. So if you're asking your cousin and your next door neighbor and your partner, and you're putting them down as community references, then we go through and read and see that those are actually three personal references, then only one of them will be counted towards your final score. So make sure you're asking people who will get counted.
We have one more question. If I'm given an offer for the scholarship, would I be able to swap my program choice if a more desired option is available for me in the future? Post-secondary offers are being sent quite slowly.
Yes, so this scholarship is not at all tied to what program you're going to be studying at post-secondary school. The scholarship doesn't go to your school, it goes directly to you. So we're hoping that you use it to help with school costs, but you can use it for tuition, you can use it for books, you can use it to help with your commute costs. Like it's up to you how you help it, how you use it to help with your post-secondary school. We don't follow up to make sure that you're going to, I don't know, University of Saskatchewan, and then you decide you're going to go to Alberta. Like that's not going to be held against you at all. Um, and the program can switch at any time as well. I know someone before in the form that you filled out had asked about if the scholarship's available for multiple years. It's not, it's just available for the first year. I think I talked about the gap year. If you're in a gap year, yeah, perfect.
If anyone has any other questions, keep dropping them in the chat. But right now, Heather, you're good to go.
All right. So that's it about the scholarship. I just wanted to highlight a few of the DHF programs and resources. You can use this for about DHF. Just make sure you also go to the website to do a bit more research. Our DHF transition guide has been researched and is updated annually. It has information about every school across Canada, public schools, colleges, and universities. It includes information about academics, or academic accommodation offices, health insurance plans, where the nearest hospital is. So it's a really great resource to check out when you're deciding where you do want to go. And then once you've made your acceptance sort of the summer before, just to check in so you can make a plan. I know living with type 1 diabetes, we're always kind of planning for what's going to happen. So this is just a great tool to help you do that. Our student transition planner is full of sort of the day-to-day advice and tips for navigating post-secondary school. It's going to feel like a whole new world when you get there. So this is just information that has been researched and from students who are living with type 1 diabetes just to help you navigate things like getting accommodations and telling roommates about type 1 diabetes and how to go out and have fun with your friends safely. So I highly recommend you check that out. It's available online. You can download it or just look at it through our website. Our Hope Connects peer support program, Abby is one of our phenomenal mentors. So we have peer mentorship. We also have online drop-ins. We have a Discord forum where you can go and ask questions to anybody who's on there living with type 1 diabetes. There's some very, very funny memes on there as well. So if you're looking just for a smile, you can check it out there. And then we've just recently launched our T1D community arts programming. So we have in-person programming for those in the GTA, and then we also have some online offerings. I'll let Abby talk about the one that she runs, which is our writer's circle.
Yeah, so DHF just launched our first writer's circle. The first meeting was the end of January, and our second meeting is going to be March 6th. If you sign up for our newsletter, Heather sends out a very detailed email with all the information for our writer's circle. So that is where you can get the registration link. Also, make sure that you follow DHF on our social media. Instagram so that you can keep up to date. We have some really great posts that go out, both with transition tips and with information for the Writer's Circle and other programs that are run through DHF. But the Writer's Circle, you get to come and you get to explore your creative writing juices. We have different prompts, and it's a really, supportive, low-key environment where it's no stress. You come, you write, and it's just a lot of fun. So I hope to see all of you on March 6th. It's from 7 to 8 p.m. Again, sign up for our newsletter and follow us on Instagram for some more information.
And I know we have a few caregivers, parents in the room, so I will also suggest that you check out our Pep Talks program, which if you just do a search for Pep Talks DHF, it'll take you to that page. We run monthly webinars talking about different things related to parenting and type 1 diabetes, really about how to kind of let go of some of that control as your kids are getting older. And next week on Tuesday, we're doing a webinar on traveling with type 1 diabetes that is for caregivers and youth living with type 1. We have a panel of young travelers who have been across the ocean and across the country just talking about how they prepared for it, some of the challenges they had while they were traveling. And it's just a great resource to kind of come in and take some of the fear of traveling with type 1 because I know it took me a while to get over that. So again, if you follow us online or you go to our website, you can get information about signing up for those. All right. Good luck with your applications. I'm going to stop the share now. I'm happy to stick around if anyone has any, or stop the share and stop the recording. I'm happy to stick around if anyone has questions that they just want to throw out or have a conversation.